All right, everybody, welcome to the 2023 tax season crystal ball. Folks, I'm real excited for this. This is something that we put together a couple of weeks ago as Andy and I were talking. Felt like there was a lot of chatter in the industry about what's happening in the future. And so Andy and I wanted to put this together for our various audiences. And like I said earlier, we have over 400 people who are signed up for this thing. A few quick housekeeping things before we dive into the content. First of all, let's see. The idea of what we're doing today, and Andy, you can feel free to interrupt me at any point, is we want to share some predictions of what we're seeing. I have been speaking to various vendors. We're at AICPA Engage, talking to different leaders, coaches, software providers, and of course, hundreds of clients here at TaxProMarketer about what they're thinking is going to come. And we're attempting to consolidate this into a very pithy session that will help you prepare. And so, now's really the time to begin preparing for what's coming, especially in light of some of the things that we have to share, some of the chatter that we are hearing, and based on my 20 years experience in the industry, and Andy's, gosh, you've been in the industry since you were 5 years old. So I don't know what that means. Probably 20 years experience also, right?
Yeah, 20-ish.
20-ish, right. But we also want to hear from you. And so this is not just Nate and Andy's show. We're happy to share with you what we have, and happy to have conversations about this as we do, because what are these? These are predictions. These are not for sure going to happen. A few of these I would say for sure are going to happen, but mostly mine, but I'm teasing. But in general, these are predictions. And so we want to have this to be an interactive session. And so to do that, we would love for you to put those into the Q&A box as we go, and we can debate and have some conversation. We might even, turn on your microphone and have you speak if that's something that you think would be useful. So we have the chat box. Again, we had a lot of time before everything started getting the chat online. So just put something in the chat if you want to interact and say hello and interact with people on the webinar. If you have predictions or questions that you want addressed and answered, whether by us or by the group, because we've got, looks like a bunch of people on this thing, put that in the Q&A. We don't have any poll questions today, but that is what we're doing. So again, this is for informational purposes. Andy, you can speak to this if you like. This is sort of the necessary disclaimer that we want to put on this stuff. Despite what we are kind of kidding about, when I said that some of them for sure will come through, please recognize that these are merely predictions, and we believe these things, but we are not guaranteeing them as of today, July 26, 2022. Use this at your discretion. All right, a little bit about me. A lot of you maybe don't know me yet. My name is Nate Hagerty. I'm the CEO of TaxProMarketer. I ran the marketing for a multi-office, multi-location tax business, multi-million-dollar firm. And then I started doing coaching and consulting a few years into that and started TaxProMarketer as an implementation engine for tax professionals back in 2007. We are now the leading marketing agency for the industry, blah, blah, blah. Andy, Frye, I got this from a previous webinar that we did together, Andy, and I think we need to update the photo, my friend. But Andy, if you want to speak to this, Andy started in his family tax business. It's a 3-generation business. His grandfather started the thing in 1960. Is that right?
65, yes, sir. 65. 65.
Okay. And so his father is still sort of the president emeritus of the company, but Andy kind of runs things and recently created the Pronto Tax School, which a lot of you are familiar with because it's wild and woolly and growing in massive influence. And Andy has built a reputation in the industry already among you guys and about many people in the industry for being somebody who serves and cares, etc. He's also prepared too many tax returns to count, but maybe over 10,000. And he's been a client of our agency since 2018. All right. Andy, before we get into the predictions, anything that I missed from a housekeeping or anything else standpoint?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of emphasize the interactive and authentic nature of what we want to do today. We're hoping other people have brought some predictions for you guys to share, even as we go through the predictions we pre-prepared. I think we'll probably be interrupting each other a little bit to bring in your thoughts, your comments.
I never interrupt. I never interrupt.
Yeah, me neither. I'm very good at listening continuously. But so just make sure to speak up, especially if you think one of the predictions is wrong.
Please.
You can always put in a wrong in all caps and just put why it's wrong. And let's just try to get some interaction going. I think a lot of what today, we want to just kind of have a powwow between a bunch of tax pros. And I think the predictions too, Nate, like we should emphasize a little bit that they're quite selected and narrowed down into the things that Nate and I feel are the most important, as opposed to, that you could have 50 predictions, right? But maybe you only need 5 things to really get prepared. So we try to kind of narrow down to some degree.
Yes, thank you. And this is really for fun. And we want to tell you about an event as well at the end of this that is not going to be purely about predictions. That one is going to be about preparations and knowledge sharing. And we'll talk about that. That's not the purpose of today, but we will talk about that. All right. So did somebody say something funny? All right.
Christian said that he predicts the Washington Commanders will finish last in the NFC East.
Oh, Christian Jones. This is my vice president, and he is already bringing the heat. We'll see what happens on August 20th in the preseason clash between the Washington Commanders and the Kansas City Chiefs, my friend. I'm telling you, we're going to take command. All right, that's such a lame name. All right, prediction number 1. This is one that I think is probably going to happen. Now, this kind of went for the jugular on this first one, but it's also because I grew up in DC. My father worked in the White House. I have a lot of connections and friendships still in government back in DC. A lame duck Congress is going to absolutely bring chaos to the early part of tax season. I think that whatever happens in the elections, it seems like there is a shift that might occur in the makeup of Congress. But the time between the elections and the swearing in of the new representatives and the new senators is called the lame duck session. And it's always a little wild and woolly. And we've seen what happened the last couple years when they didn't have necessarily like a big shift in composition. There's going to be a big shift in composition. My prediction is that the Democrats will probably lose some seats and the Republicans will gain majorities, probably at least in the Senate, most likely also in the House. It's going to be an interesting ride from the political landscape. I'm not here to make any political pronouncements or anything like that, good or bad, in your opinion. It doesn't matter. We live in the world of what is. And regardless of maybe that doesn't happen, it's still a lame duck Congress. It's still trying to kind of get things squeezed in by the end of the year, and it will bring chaos. This is not that crazy a prediction because this is done. Same things happened the last 3 years. And even before COVID, we were getting chaotic stuff because they're not good at making decisions in Congress right now, and it affects all of us, right? So this is why in January, my team and I are always like mobilized, ready to like read the code and deploy communications on behalf of our clients. And this is something, if you don't use our services, which is fine, you should also be prepared because it will be on your brain that things might shift and your clients will want to hear from you, not just about, this is your year-end tax planning organizer, Mr. Client. You've got to be able to have proactive communication about the things that are going to be going down with congressional actions. So,
and I know, Nate, I wanted to jump in for a second because John had mentioned the child tax credit specifically. So I think that's maybe one of those changes that's really on people's minds. I know this might be kind of digging into the extra credit crystal ball, but like any particular 1 or 2 changes that you could really see happening in particular?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, do you see the child tax credit,
I think it's going to stay in. I think it's going to stay in for at least another year. Now, the advanced payments component of it, I'm not sure about, but I think that there is enough of a contingency within the Republican base that they don't want to be seen as doing something that is quote unquote anti-family. And so there's this tension between, their small government inclinations and the actual reality of putting money in people's pockets, and bringing the pork back home, et cetera, quote unquote. I'm not sure that I think it's been a nightmare. I don't think it's been an effective policy, but my prediction is that there will be people that the tax professional world that we all live in we have to remember, an insulated world to a degree. And there's a lot of families that don't really care about the chaos that we've had to deal with for the last 8 months handling this crap. And even so, they've seen the tax return process being crazy with it. They just want the money. And so we have to remember that the lobbying group of the tax professional industry is not as strong as, all the other groups that want the credits. That's my prediction. Now, if you disagree, Andy, I'd love to hear your thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be interesting because I think it's, and John mentioned again, it's a $7,000 swing for him personally,
I know.
right? So we're talking about huge amounts of where, as tax season comes up, and depending how the economy, the job market, this whole like rents are up, you guys have been hearing, right, by 20, 30%. A lot of people rely on those tax refunds to kind of catch up on stuff. So I think that's one thing to really watch. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure.
I think that tends towards status quo in lame duck sessions with a few spicy changes. That might be one of them. All I'm saying, what I'm really predicting is chaos. I'm not going to plant a flag in the ground related to the child tax credit, but we'll see, won't we? So,
but chaos is the prediction, and we
chaos
always
is the
think
prediction.
as
December,
tax professionals. I don't know if you guys agree as tax professionals, but when you hear chaos, you should hear also profit and opportunity to be of service, right? I mean, and I think that's probably your next preparation here is get into that mode.
Yes, because that's why I do suggest you finalize your marketing and operational plans before that season so that you can be nimble and prepared to profit on this reality. And again, it's always an interesting tension when we speak about these things as service practitioners, right? We are service professionals. We care about our clients. And when I say profit on these things, we're not trying to profit in the sense of like some people did early in the 2020 COVID stuff and jumped on charging people extortionate fees for the PPP application process. And we all know some people in the industry who did that, and it was not a great look in the early part of that season. There's blood on the streets, buy property kind of thing, dynamics. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being prepared to serve your client base in your market area, and you will therefore profit as a result.
Yeah, and I'd say communicating. I mean, that this is on your mind for the advanced child tax credit or for even the child care credit, right? The 99K rules, the stuff that kind of those hot button issues. So if those can be a part of your marketing and operational plans, be like not the day before tax season. I think this preparation number one, definitely agree with that part of it.
Yep. All right, your turn, brother.
So I wanted to just start by what I personally view as good news. I know for ourselves, like when we were looking at all the stuff that's coming down with iSoftware, all these different options that clients have, there was a thought that even if we're doing a great job for our clients, we still may get phased out or extincted or however you want to kind of put it. And that was kind of how I felt about it 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. My prediction, my strongest prediction, I think, is in the good news category for everybody, that if you have excellent client relationships, you're going to continue to get as much business as you can handle next tax season and also for, just forever, as far as the eye can see. A preparation for that, right? Like is, for the next slide here, Nate, would be, fairly obvious, right? To persistently strengthen client relationships through regular education-based communication when it's not tax season. So I always think of that friend that only contacts you when they want money. It's not really a positive thing. So being in contact with clients, educating clients, thinking about the questions that are in their mind before they even think about it, and proactively communicating, I think is the way that we want to strengthen those client relationships year round.
Yes, this is close to my heart, which is why I came in. Now, Andy and I created these separately and we integrated them after the fact. I said the same thing. Practices that haven't built, I put it in the negative. A year-round communication plan with their clients will face price pressures, departures, and flat growth. And so that's a little subtly different. I'm talking about year-round communication. I'm talking about that as a methodology for building strong client relationships. If you have a good rapport with clients, that's going to take you to a certain place. But communication ongoing with that group of clients, if you have a practice of any scale, and by that I mean anything beyond 20 to 30 clients, then you have to have a year-round communication plan that is not transactional. Relationships grow when there is like oil in the gears, and that oil of the gears is, feeding communication, right? I mean, it's just the same when you have a relationship with a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. You've got to keep the communication flow going. And so in our work, it's even more essential, especially as we're dealing with inflationary pressures, economic chaos, political weirdness with the way the parties are acting right now, pre-election seasons. All of that is sort of the thing that the air that your clients are breathing right now. And, some of them are doing a better job than others of staying, focused on what they should be focused on and not kind of like getting hooked into all of the chaos that's out there. But even if they do a great job with it, it's around, it's conversation, it's happening. And you have an opportunity as a professional who still garners a great deal of trust to be proactive on a regular basis, putting out hope-filled messages to your client base. And when you do that, that builds a strong relationship over time, and you will thrive and you will grow. And so my preparation is, even if you haven't yet been doing this, develop a strategy now to deepen client relationships by the fall at the latest. It's so essential for you to do that. And so a part of this is also the online world that I'm seeing, which is continuously shifting and changing, and trust is continuing to deteriorate online. Hype is continuing to have less and less of an impact from a marketing standpoint. And what has a greater impact, and this, I'm speaking as somebody who's been in the online marketing space since the year 2003, okay? The kind of messages, the kind of tactics, the kind of strategies that worked even 5 years ago are not working as well. So there's a lot of change in sort of how Facebook and Apple software and algorithm changes are interacting. There's changes on pixel strategies. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to take into account when you build a marketing strategy online. One of them, though, I'm continuing to see with a lot of my marketing agency friends, email marketing continues to be the most powerful medium, and building your own tribe thereby. Because that's what email marketing does, is when you create a relationship to your client's inbox, it's a higher level than a social media connection, a video view, website visits, whatever else. The email inbox is the most powerful relationship building place from an online marketing standpoint. Now, of course, face-to-face is best. Webinars, podcasts can be great. All of that's really good also. But in terms of nurturing and feeding long relationships, email is king. All right.
Yeah,
any thoughts on that, Andy? Things to augment?
Well, I think it's just when it comes to that marketing, back to basics. A lot of people think, email marketing, oh, that's no like great revelation or whatever. But like, are you doing it right now? That's what you hear from people. Like, I always feel like the same people that tell me, well, that's no big deal or whatever, but they're not really doing it right now, despite how effective and how low cost it is. So yeah, I think just deepening those client relationships, nurturing it with that communication has been a big thing. And it's a big part of why we work with you guys as well to help us make that a little easier. And I am keeping track. You guys are some great comments here. And this prediction from Hal Fairchild as well, that I predict the IRS will remain as dysfunctional as ever. So he's really going out.
It's an easy one.
He's going out of he took the low-hanging fruit right at the top there. So this is one on the information overload avoidance side, so to speak. Like, I know you guys take a lot of people on here, you take our update courses and stuff, and then maybe it's like 80 pages of like updates. You're like, wow, there's like so many updates, right? But each year we want to look at the things, or what are the 2 to 5 that are really going to move the needle for people, right? And that you really need to be paying attention to. And for me, these new 1099K rules, where so many more people are going to get 1099s, is going to create, again, that word chaos. We would prefer for it to be profitable chaos for tax pros who are prepared for it. And so this one, I know you guys have already attended some trainings we've done on this, and this is already something you're preparing for. On the next slide, Nate, just how I'm preparing is we're giving team members additional training to make sure people are ready for all the chaos that's going to be unleashed through these rules. And just think about it, right? That the more 1099s that people get, the more likely they are to use a tax pro, right? I mean, that's not like something that's some, crazy revelation. It's just true.
Andy, I think this is a big deal. And I think a lot of tax pros are still not aware of how much chaos this is going to bring to their client base. This is a big deal. Come January, Cash App, Venmo are going to be sending out 1099Ks. There are a lot of people with unreported income that are going to get a rude awakening. There are a lot of people who get those payments and it should not be recorded as income, who are going to get a little panicked, and it's going to be wild. You've got to be out in front of this. So we're already writing some of that stuff on our side for our clients. We're going to spend more time on it. This is something that you should definitely be talking to your clients about on the regular. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think David even mentioned he just got a text about this, right? So now we're in July, right? So if you multiply that by 1,000, because nobody's trying to think about 1099Ks right now if you're a client, basically. I mean, you're trying to be on summer and et cetera, right? So multiply that by 1,000, you can see my preparation here is to not only have additional training, but have like plug and play ready-made answers for the most common questions, so that people are not hearing different things from our team members, and that also that team members are not put in a position where they're asked to explain something very complicated that potentially can be different from what the actual facts are. So just have those answers ready to go for all team members. That's a preparation that we want to focus on.
Well, okay. So let's just, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Andy, I'm putting you on the spot on this. Are you willing to share this training about 1099Ks, maybe at an event?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, when we get into the plug and play realm, that's actually going to be a lot of what we talk about in our upcoming event is, making it easy, fast, fun, enjoyable to actually educate your clients and get out front of these things.
Yeah.
So I think we will be able to do more of that shortly here. And Hal even mentioned again in the chat room, right? Like he'd love to be communicating, Nate, more with his clients, but he also wants to be on vacation.
Yes. Oh, that's what's great about email. Set it and forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, I support that. So we're talking about autoresponders, how we're talking about, plugging in emails and having them go out automatically while you are on vacation. So that's the kind of fun stuff we can get a little deeper into. Also, we'll be able to address in the Q&A, guys. And total here, let me give some context for the number of predictions. I think we have total 8 or 9. So we're moving along.
Yeah, and we will share these slides out as well to the entire audience. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that this is one of the things that we want to spend some time on during this knowledge share event, Extravaganza in San Diego in August, late August, that I think is going to be really valuable for all attendees. I'm actually coming ready to take notes on what Andy and his team are doing. One of the reasons why Andy and I are doing this, I've been I hope this isn't too insidery for me to say this, but some of you may know that I've been in this world for a long time and speaking and conducting webinars. I probably led, no exaggeration, over 1,000 webinars in my career back when they used to be called teleseminars. I did them weekly for many years. I get a lot of people coming at us to have relationships. Our audience, we have 28,000 people in our community. Andy, speaking to the choir now, because a lot of you know Andy, but if you don't know Andy, one of the reasons why we are joining together on this event is because of his desire and willingness to serve the community and what he's going to be bringing to you guys about the 1099Ks and a bunch of things. So just wanted to plug you, Andy. I really appreciate your perspective on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
All right. Another prediction. Previously, ancillary service lines will become essential moving forward. And I think 2023, good clients, as in high-paying clients, will seek out practices that offer them. I'm talking about tax planning, business advisory services in particular, but of course, resolution related to all of the PPP and EIDL stuff that's going to come through, the 941s. It's just all of it's going to get a little wild and woolly from a tax resolution standpoint in the next few years. So that's definitely something to have on your radar. I'm not sure we're going to see that quite in 2023 as strongly as we probably will in 2024, but we'll start to see the beginnings of it. But I will say, based on what I'm hearing from our clients and from a lot of people in the industry, the emphasis on tax planning and business advisory services is a key one. And if you don't have that as part of your toolbox, I highly recommend getting some training and even more certification in these areas moving forward, because it will be a way that you can price your services in different tranches for different kinds of clients. And so if you are a short form warrior, which I'm great with that kind of model, and Andy has a slide about that, and I think there's actually a better future for that than a lot of people think. And I agree with Andy's prediction there. It requires some things, but it's a way to augment your short form practice and begin to prepare for the eventuality. It may not be immediate, but eventually, where that kind of business will become less and less popular because software and AI hopefully will begin to take some of the heavy lifting away. But that's why you want to prepare now with this other stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get to the short, because I know short form warriors, it kind of catches people attention. They're like, what is that? Am I that? You know, et cetera. So we'll get to that in a second, you guys. And for people in the chat asking about the slides, we're going to send out slides and recording. So just check your email and you'll be able to get that. Prediction number 6, moving towards the end of our part of this is, and moving towards the Q&A, right, is state tax issues will actually be the reason that a lot of clients hire a tax professional instead of DIYing it. A lot of times we've thought of state returns as an afterthought,
bonus.
right? As a
free
bonus.
state return when you get the, federal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my preparation for this on the next slide, Nate, is to study up and get more confident in dealing with the most common state tax issues. So these are just a few things off the top of my head that I know we're going to deal with a lot more of. State returns, remote workers, move outs, move ins, business income apportioning, pass through entity tax. So a lot of times when people go on, and you guys know this, they go on TurboTax, especially some of the higher income folks that may be moved or had another little slight complication. They feel okay about the federal return. They don't feel confident about the state return. So I think the state tax expertise is going to continue to be a differentiator and a way to provide that superior level of service and value for clients.
Yep. And also there's these ERC businesses out there that are, popped up to help the business owners with the ERC. And some of that is good. Some of it is a little sharky, in my opinion. There's some stuff out there on that. But what I have seen as a business that received the ERC is a little bit of state payroll tax chaos there. And they will, people that can get messed up in filing those 941 amendments. Probably all of you have seen this. And depending on the payroll provider, depending on how it all kind of gets submitted, it can get hairy out there. Andy, have you seen that?
Yeah, I have, and just all variations of that, right? Like even Elisa has a good point here, Nate, in the chat saying, it really depends on the state, right? So absolutely,
True.
like in some states, it's not that big of a deal. Obviously, in the states that have no income tax, it's not that big of a deal. But even there might be like corporation tax changes. There's a lot of state tax changes going on, and that really aren't addressed very well by the DIY software or the using your cousin to do your taxes methods.
All right. Prediction number 7, almost done here. Practices who serve business owners year round will sustain big growth. I think business owners as a particular population are going to be frustrated with their existing solution if somebody isn't communicating. And so there will be kind of change and chaos. So like there will be people moving more readily this year after some of these big credits are taken care of, like the ERC expiring, et cetera. People will want to move to somebody who does them well. And so I think there's going to be transfer with business owner clients moving from one practitioner to another. On top of that, I think business owners who maybe have done it in-house are going to need some help. This is going to be a big growth area. This is not that strong of a prediction because I think everybody's seeing this writing on the wall, but I just want to highlight, if you're not yet serving business owners, Andy at Pronto, they have a whole section in their membership for kind of how to become a practitioner who serves business owners more effectively. And that's something that we will be talking about at the Knowledge Share event as well. So preparation is develop a plan for this. Now's a great time to start. Maybe even at the end of August in San Diego could be another great time to start. But my quick recommendation on this is with business owners is charging them a monthly retainer, but charging separate for the tax preparation. So you unbundle tax preparation from your monthly work that you might do with them. We can have a longer conversation about that in San Diego or at other times, or even here later. I'm happy to, but I like that model for serving business owner clients. All right.
Yeah, I want to, on that note, you guys, and we'll definitely be talking about this at the event, but I wanted to just when people hear, I think, business owners, they have a certain picture in their mind, right, of somebody that has employees, that, and all these kind of things. I think we need to
Oh,
look at all the way up the
side
line, right?
hustlers.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like all the way up from those people that thought that the IRS didn't know that they're selling on eBay 10,000 a year or on StubHub or whatever it is, right? So I think just thinking of those business clients as everybody from side hustlers up to multi-million-dollar businesses, and what is the group within that or the groups that you're really best suited to serve. Like, who do you already have and you really enjoy working with them, as opposed to just thinking, well, business owners, like a lot of tax pros, I feel like, Nate, they specifically say, I don't want to work with business owners because I know they're crazy. Because they are,
Yep.
but
That's why you
where
charge them
on that
$1,000 a
spectrum?
month.
Yeah, exactly. But where on that spectrum, right? And so this one is a little bit on the, my prediction here is a little on the, when I see everybody else zig,
Short form warriors. I knew I'd stolen that phrase from somewhere. I think it was you. Sorry.
That's okay. It's all just, just that share part. So, zigging, and then I want to zag. I want to be able to look and say, okay, everybody's saying this, but there's actually, with all this inflation, and especially like I said, I feel like rents are up like 20 to 30% for a lot of people, and a lot of people are really struggling financially. So I think affordably priced, reliable, independent 1040 tax preparers, people that maybe have some business clients, but their main business is 1040 tax prep, will retain and regain significant market share in that kind of more, where you can do that kind of work at a lower cost and still do a good job. And obviously you have to have the processes set up to do that. So the preparation on my side will be.
Can I interrupt you on that? Because I just want to highlight it. If you guys are not familiar with Andy and his team, I mean, this is their business, right? They have year-round clients, but most of their revenue in their tax business comes during that season, right? That's accurate, right, Andy?
Yeah, and I think just there's always kind of a special place in my heart for that kind of tax preparation. I actually miss it a lot, in the sense of like, I started off doing $35, $40 tax returns, right? And do like 20 or more a day. Right. So when you're efficient with it and you're really good and you have your client, it's become harder because taxes have become more complex, even on the lower end of the spectrum. So you have to be careful.
We're not advocating that pricing, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, this was in like 2001. So this was, far in the back, right?
It was underpriced even then, Andy. But yes.
But just think of it realistically, right? Like, how many middle income and lower income or even higher income people are like, you know what? I feel like I'm paying too much for everything right now. And, for people that haven't, we've already initiated the price increases over the past few years. So I would be a little careful, if you have great value in what you're doing, by all means. But if I can have a service that junior team members can fulfill without involvement from senior team members, and it can get into that lower price point for people, I actually think that's an opportunity this upcoming tax season.
It might be. And also, especially if you have ancillary services and maybe financial planning on the back end, or, whatever else it might be that you're offering, tax preparation can be an awesome loss leader to market. And especially if you have financial planning in your wheelhouse, that you can't promote that in this as vociferously as you can tax because of FINRA. And so I know a lot of big financial planning practices that have been built on the backs of using tax prep as a loss leader to get people in the door. One of my favorite clients is, Dean Owen. I've known him for 20 years, and he's one of the largest assets under management businesses in the state of Kentucky. And that's been his model for a long time. So there's ways to do that, but you have to be strategic. There's lots of different ways to build your practice. You just need to find the one that fits what you care about.
And let's just envision a concrete scenario for that, right? Like, because I'm getting some good comments here about what do you consider affordable. $9.95. I have done a couple of tax returns for free or just a couple bucks, but I'm not going to plan to take it back to that point. But can a junior team member complete this work, right, without involvement from a senior team member, right, and still do a great job? Okay, not every return is going to fit into that. So if there is a question that comes up, or there's a need, or there's an earned income, that's going to go out of that category of being a low price thing. So just think about ahead of time, how to actually position that correctly. I think it's, it may not be right for you guys, right, for everybody here, but I think it's worth considering. And I wanted to mention too, Sean, one of our best members, Nate, that has a nice financial planning business. And he just kind of confirmed what you're saying of, a big fan of using tax services to grow assets under management for financial planning. I know he's been super successful in doing that.
Yeah.
Thanks, John, for attending too.
Yeah. And I saw a couple other cool things happening in the chat earlier as well related to this, even some connections. Did you see Hal earlier reconnected with one of his students from UCLA in the 70s, which is hilarious. And this is a perfect segue to prediction number 9, which is that any and all tax professionals who join us and, a few hundred of their best friends, soon to be best friends, are going to have a blast and will walk away with significant progress made, connections established that's already happening here in this webinar, but times 10. Honestly, the purpose of live events, in my opinion, and Andy and I had a good back and forth about this as we talked about planning this event, is not just like, Andy and I are not building this event to just give you a bunch of information. We can do that virtually well and will continue to. The purpose of this event is for connections to be established, actual work to be done, as in, like, my team is going to be on site to work with people on building their Google business profile, to work with people on developing an email marketing plan, to work with people directly, whether or not they're our client or not. We're going to be there and you're going to walk away with an online marketing plan for your practice. You're going to walk away with an operational flow for your practice, and you're going to have a lot of freaking fun. That's the goal with this thing. So Andy, you want to say more? I know you do.
Yeah, I mean, the preparation's pretty simple. Evaluate whether you want to be there and get your ticket ASAP. I want to say just a couple quick words before we go to the Q&A about the event, because I know people have questions, and I'm just going to power through these slides so we can do lots of Q&A. Nate, so what is the Knowledge Share Extravaganza event? Basically, think of your favorite client, somebody that you love working with, right? And imagine that's on the left-hand side where you have, words like cooperate, serve, collaborate, unite, all these things, right? You have clients that just cause you a lot of stress, right? And that's on the right-hand side. And you're probably stressing out the client as well. We're not perfect either, right? It's not all that we're just getting victimized. It's, just some unfortunate, just not a good fit, right? So if you go to the next slide, Nate, beyond just the anxiety associated with, working with clients that maybe we don't enjoy as much, and maybe they don't enjoy us as much. Let me look. I was doing this for some of our best clients and starting to look at the trends of what a best client kind of feels like financially, because that matters too, right? So this is a 10-year situation where, you're going to have that client come in at a certain price, which is going to be in that affordable range, most likely. But if you look at that year 3 and year 6, whether that comes exactly at year 3 or exactly at year 6, Nate, it may depend on the client situation. Maybe they add a new business at year 4, right? But look at the steps that happen, right? And the overall, quote, lifetime value. Maybe you'll have this client actually for 40 years, right? But this is a 10-year value. And you start to think, this client is very valuable to me and I'm actually enjoying myself. What are the things that need to happen for these clients to be a 10-year client rather than a 1 or 2-year client? And this is a small business tax prep client. And this is just tax prep. This isn't the ancillary services that you're talking about, but in that long-term view, right? How do we get there, right? How do we turn existing clients into ideal clients? Because not all about getting new clients. Sometimes it's about retraining existing clients or resetting existing client relationships. How do we acquire and retain new ideal clients? Does anybody care about those questions, right? I think most of us probably do, right? So the number one complaint that we see, whether it's CPAs, tax preparers, anybody in our business, is we are struggling on communication. A lot of times, right? Like, even you guys know how much email marketing I've done over the taxable stuff, but I was struggling to get emails out to our tax clients before we hired Nate to make that process easier for us, Nate and his team, right? So when we communicate properly, but how do we actually communicate properly? Right? Because as Hal said, he wants to be on vacation. I'm actually currently on vacation right now, coming back from a vacation, but that makes total sense to me, that people don't want to spend all their time communicating properly, right? So without spending tons of time, how do you go about doing that? And how do you make sure that the time and money you put in actually pays off so that you're getting increased profits from communications rather than just adding another expense? So if any of that resonates with you guys, here's a nice little picture for you of that's basically what we're doing. And then if we go to the next slide here, Nate, yeah, I mean, this is it, right? This is what it's about. This event is going to be about getting you a result, and it's going to come with your other peers. Your peers, you're going to be doing this together with your peers. Nate's team's going to be there. My team's going to be there to help you implement. And we're going to give tax professionals an easier, more profitable, and more fun way to attract and retain those good fit clients, the clients that you really enjoy working with consistently, automatically. And it's by sharing your knowledge with clients, right? And that's I call that education marketing. So let's go into the Q&A. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I was going to say education marketing is a term that I know some people may not be fully familiar with, but it is what we practice on behalf of our clients and what I've been doing for 20 years in the online marketing space. It's about attracting clients to a lighthouse where you create the lighthouse, and like moths to the flame, the clients come because you are sending out great information that has a relational bent to it. And it's not pure commoditized, articles that could be found with a simple Google search, but actually is communicated like you are a real person to a real person. And that changes the game. I remember when we first started doing this on behalf of tax professionals back in 2008, when I started offering this for people, the massive amounts of breakthroughs, and they've only continued for, the 14, 15 years that we've been doing this. So education marketing is not like becoming a teacher necessarily. It might be hiring us, but I will hopefully give you the tools. You can do this on your own just as easily, but I'm going to be there. Andy's going to be there. We're going to talk about this modality, but it's not just about marketing. That I want to make sure that everyone understands. Me and my team are there. We're going to wear the marketing and sales hat. Andy and his team are there. They're going to wear the operational and, recruiting, training, hiring hat. And we're going to make magic together. And then all of you are going to bring your own perspectives. And we might have different people on stage. We've had initial conversations about Dominique Molina being a part of it, who's the head of the American Institute of Certified Tax Planners. There might be other surprise speakers that might show up in San Diego. Now, we chose San Diego for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's freaking beautiful. 330 days out of the year, it is 70 and sunny. Number two, Andy's tax offices are like a couple hours away. And so he's going to bring a bunch of his team there. And because this is our kickoff event, we wanted it to be in a place that was like home field for Andy and his team. And so that's why it's San Diego. I saw some comments like, oh, I wish it wasn't anything but California. I get it. Like if you don't like California for a variety of reasons, I get it. But San Diego is an awesome place to do a conference. I've been to tons of conferences there. It's a great place to hang out. Now, our goal, just to reassert it, is not that we're just going to deliver information at this thing. We will. But way more than that, we will workshop around small group tables. I will participate. Andy will. All of our team, that will be there. I'm going to bring like 3 or 4 of my team members with me to just be in the room and help you guys build the thing as you want to grow your practice. So again, the links are here. Just we can put them in the chat actually. To get your tickets, there's going to be a discount for Pronto School members and also TaxProMarketer agency clients as well. I'll put see if I can copy that. I can. That's nice. It's nice when it's in Google Slides.
Crushing it. Yeah, I want to definitely say that for people that are coming to the event, I want people to arrive ready to take action and actually do for your own self. And we're going to have people that actually help you do. So I'm tapped out on the pure passive absorption type of event where I sit there and then I'm like, this is a great idea. I'm never going to do this, but let me go get some lunch, So this is something that for people that are really serious about growing your reputation, your relationship with your clients and with your potential clients that you enjoy working with, your ideal clients. This is going to be an actionable things that you actually want to do. And you not only want to do them, you have the team there to help you do them. So that's kind of the sales pitch part.
I'm also tapped out on pitch fests and dry, boring CPE factories. There will be CPE and we will probably talk some tax code stuff, but man, oh man, I'm so tapped out on some of the things in our industry when you just get a speaker selling you a $10,000 kit, or on the converse where it's just like these association driven events that are super boring in most cases. I will say that Latino Tax Fest is a pretty fun event and we have that in mind. It's going to be that kind of flavor, though not Latino, though Latinos are for sure welcome. So
awesome. So that's kind of the, like I said, the pitch part of it. If you guys have questions, definitely reach out. And speaking of questions, let's get into Q&A. I think, like we said, he's like superstar participator on this. He's not only a professor, but this webinar, he's just tearing it up. As already mentioned so many times that he'd rather be on vacation, but also when he's not on vacation, he's charging $1,500 to $2,000 an hour. So I'm like, all right, this is allowing a lot of vacations, predicting that the IRS will remain as dysfunctional as ever. I wonder if do people agree with that? I think that it will get less dysfunctional.
I think it'll get a little better.
Yeah, I would hope so.
It better, because even using, calling Q was a nightmare this year for people. So crypto is going to be crazy.
Crypto's gonna be crazy. Yep.
Yeah, because I think that's gonna go back up, and I think people are gonna get a little wild on that. We are making plans for recordings, but it's still kind of in process. Like, industry or people who come, we will have an option for the recordings there for sure. But let's see what else.
Yeah, don't you guys if don't count on a recording. Be
Yeah.
there if this is a priority for you. I know it's a priority for me. So yeah, be there if it's a priority for you. I should mention too that all the discounted tickets are available on both these links, you guys, until August 7th. So
Yes.
Keep that in mind, gives you a little bit of time to kind of decide or
We
ask
are
any
aware
questions.
that it's a month out, but you still have time to make travel plans. I've been making last minute travel plans, and it's actually not as crazy. If you haven't done any traveling this summer, yes, there's been rumors and realities of canceled flights. That is a thing Andy just experienced. I also experienced it, but it's not been like as chaotic as the chaos mongers would have you believe. I've taken 4 trips since March, and yesterday when I'm coming back from Pittsburgh, dropping my son off at summer camp, was the first time that I actually had any kind of cancellation or any disruption or anything like that. And I've been flying multiple American, Southwest, and Delta, so I can't speak for United. But anyway, point is, it's not as crazy as you might think if you want to make plans to fly there. San Diego has direct flights from Southwest and some other places as well. I just recommend it. Making the time to come and join us in person.
Yeah, if you don't love California, you'll still love San Diego. That's kind of how
gosh.
San Diego. That's kind of how San Diego works. It's got a lot to offer. It's hard to hate San Diego. All right, so let's power through a few of these questions that came in too. Looks like we have 12. Where's the predictions too, you guys? Other than the dysfunctional for IRS, drop those in the Q&A. So my firm struggles with getting the 8879s prior to e-filing for our remote clients. So what we did on that, Joseph, and would just say to look into this is the software companies now are offering these options where they have to pay the invoice and sign before it even comes back through your software as completed. So I would look into that on your software to see how the software can send reminders, can help you, close that out before, because that is a big issue. And it's a big problem if it's not done properly. So look into your software solution, express to them what your concern is and the issue you're having now, and give them the first shot to fix that for you. Robert said, Nate, he's been doing tax prep since 1969. And this is the worst ever, the past tax season.
Tell me what you said the other day.
Every year is the worst tax season. I've been hearing that for a long, long time. And I think that's part of the inspiration, I should say, of this event, right? Is that kind of tired of people having to say that, right? And I know how it can happen because I've actually had some pretty miserable tax seasons myself. So I definitely get how it can happen. But we just want to make it easier to have actually an enjoyable tax season. I mean, we're making a lot of money. You're serving people. You're helping people. We should be able to figure out a way where we're not utterly miserable. Is that too much to ask?
Right. And there are a ton of businesses out there, practices that thrived and built market share, and operationally we're doing well. One of the things that I wanted to actually put in the predictions, but it didn't make the cut, was related to hiring and firing and training staff. And I think that's actually going to be easier this year for a variety of reasons, but especially if you kind of get your ducks in a row over the summer. And there's a lot of things that I want to speak about at this event related to team building and culture, because that's a passion of mine. And within the tax and accounting industry, that is a massive differentiator. If you can build good culture within your team, you will not have a problem with staff. You won't. And I've done office hours on that a lot for our agency clients, and we'll continue to be talking about that. That's a big deal. All right, let's see. Robert, 31/2025, all the new tax laws as we know now will expire, and where we will be with the new administration and all the new tax law changes. Andy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think that's that education marketing opportunity, that we're mentioning, right? Is if something's on your mind, then it's on somebody else's mind that you're serving. So I think if we get to a point where all of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act stuff comes to a halt, I believe a few of those are permanent, right? Like the corporate side, some of that stuff. But yeah, this will be something that I don't think is something to get worked up and concerned about right now, but it's just an opportunity to educate and use that for your authority marketing, right? If you're educating me about that and you're looking out to 2025 and it's 2022 now, what is that going to tell me about your level of service, Robert? Right? It's going to tell me, wow, like Robert's really thinking about things that I'm not thinking about that could affect me and my family. And so what better marketing could there be than that? Just that feeling that a client has, Robert's looking out for me. Now, when Robert goes the next year to charge what he charges for his service, right? That and me having had that feeling as a client, Robert's looking out for me not only right now when he's getting my money, but all the way out to 2025. He's concerned about my family, my financial situation. I'm not going to have much price resistance, or I'm going to enjoy paying Robert at that point. And that's what I want our fellow tax pros to be enjoying that, that because you earned it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Crypto will be nuts. Agreed. Do you want to say anything about that, Andy?
Yeah, I think the crypto is going to be really interesting this year because of the amount of losses, right? So, I had I thought it was amusing, a meme in the course this year about which box do you check if you want to not report income, but yes, report losses. And I think that's the crypto client's sort of dilemma.
Those crypto bros, man. Yeah.
It's like, if I report the losses, is that going to mean I'm going to have to report all the income I made? But also just demographic wise, I think about 70% of US crypto holders got involved in 2021. So they've taken substantial losses, like huge losses. So that is going to spur a lot of kind of, well, I wish I could take that against my W-2 income. I wish I could take that against my business income. Is there a way to do that? And so you're going to have a lot of opportunities again for education marketing around crypto. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be very interesting, and it's actually, I think it's a pretty big opportunity.
All right. Phil wants to know chatter in the IRS or government software providers about an opt-out checkbox of creating Schedule Cs for the extra millions of people who are not in business but will get the 1099Ks.
Yeah.
I think we won't see that this year, but that might come in the future. I've not heard anything about that specifically. Have you, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing, Phil. And Phil actually always has really insightful comments on the webinars. And yeah, totally. Think of all these things, Nate, right? Like in tax pros' heads, right? All these thought processes, right? Like, how's this getting to the clients? Right? How is this getting to the clients and creating so much value that Phil and Robert and all you guys are thinking about these kind of things? That's what we want to actually help you do. And that's what we mean by education marketing. But I think the madness that's going to go on with the 1099K stuff this year, Phil, is going to provoke demands for that type of solution, right? Like, check a box. I'm not in business. I just got, and then like make some adjustment.
They already have that on some of the apps, but it's yet to be determined if that is going to impact any of the 1099K reporting or not.
We just don't know. So that's where the chaos comes in, right? That's where the chaos comes in. That's where the opportunity comes in. And I think that's going to be sort of the main event this year, especially as it gets close to the tax filing deadline. People are going to straggle in with those multiple 1099Ks. They're going to say they're wrong. They didn't get this. They don't.
Well, looks like we lost Andy. Am I the only one who lost Andy? Okay. Looks like, Andy, we lost you. You're back. Say something.
I'm back. Okay. So 1099Ks, enjoy it.
Good wrap up. All right. Okay. TurboTax is going to increase prices. Yes, I completely agree. They are feeling pressure on that for sure. And I think their user base is going to decrease again, because this year it went down and it's going to continue to go down. I think that will reverse eventually, but this year I don't think it's going to increase. That's my opinion. That's my back. Andy, you have a different opinion?
I think that's correct, because Intuit, they do a great job. They also raise prices a lot. I think there's going to be a stiffer competition in the self-prepared. I think Tax Act has made a lot of headway, and I think there's other new solutions that are going to come on and streamline self-prepared taxes for specific groups of people. For example, gig workers. So I think the DIY, is still going to be a force to contend with, but I don't think it's going to be as much focused on Intuit and TurboTax. But although they'll still be a great competitor.
Agreed. All right. Yes, Joel, people that combine tax prep and financial planning will experience great growth, especially in inflationary times when people are feeling the need for help in those areas. If you can provide a low cost way, like, fee only as one option or fee based, depending on how you fly on that stuff. Commission even is fine. It's just depending on how you communicate. I know that a lot of people prefer the fee based financial planning, but regardless of your pricing structure and your revenue structure on that, if you can provide that, the strength of your relationships will dictate how that goes. So that's what I say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think Joel's doing a great job of that. I actually have a hard stop.
Yeah, we're past the hour, aren't we?
The ID.me, the only thing that reminds me of is it's on hold right now. Stuff. But what's not on hold is the rapid technological advancement of IRS and desire to rely more on tech rather than old school phones and faxes. So I think keeping on top of that. I know in our courses that's mentioned, here's all the new stuff. Here's a new tech from IRS, voice bots and chat bots and all this kind of stuff. Nate, I have to log off right now. I want to thank everybody.
We're super excited. We're going to do this for a couple days and have a blast as we do it. So enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Thanks Nate too. Appreciate you putting this on.
My pleasure.
Take care, guys.
All righty. Bye-bye.